Yes. Welcome, everyone. Cannabis News with Joe Klare for July 16th, 2018. Presented, as always, by the Marijuana Times. Check us out at marijuanatimes.org. All the great articles, the great writers, all of that stuff, marijuanatimes.org. And make sure you click that video tab on marijuanatimes.org to find every episode of Cannabis News. Help us spread the truth about cannabis through this show. You can also subscribe to us on Vimeo and on Apple Podcasts, the audio-only version of the show. Search the Marijuana Times on Apple Podcasts. And if you have not heard yet, it's been a few weeks since our return to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube, our YouTube channel. Search the Marijuana Times on YouTube and click that little notification bell so you know when a new episode of Cannabis News has been posted. Today, we're talking about possible problems with traveling between Canada and the U.S. when it comes to people who are in the legal marijuana business in Canada. Also, 11 total conditions added to the medical marijuana program as qualifying conditions in Michigan. We'll talk about that coming up. Also, so the story is from Massachusetts. A weird story with a video. We got a video of what happened as well. Basically, a city or a town in Massachusetts banned recreational marijuana sales under the legalization program there, and it was a contentious and it was contentious. There's other adjectives I use, but I will do so coming up. We'll stay with contentious for now. All of that is what we're going to talk about. But first, of course, Cannabis News is brought to you by Natureside, nature-side.com, and their line of organic, all-natural pesticides. If you're a cannabis cultivator in a state where it is legal, you want to be regulatory compliant, you want to grow safe and poison-free, you don't want to use harmful chemicals on your grow. All of this can be accomplished by going to nature-side.com. Again, side is spelled C-I-D, a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Nature Side. Go check them out. This first story is from marijuanatimes.org by Jason Sander. U.S. reportedly issuing travel bans on Canadian cannabis professionals. As you know, Canada was recently legalized recreational marijuana. October 17th is the target date for the beginning of, or the enacting of the law that legalizes adult use marijuana possession, sales, and growing in Canada. But apparently that's causing a bit of a problem, according to Jay Evans, who's the CEO of Kirtan Incorporated. Him and two of his colleagues intended to come to the U.S. for a meeting to discuss a device that aids in the cannabis production process. Evans said, "We had not yet designed the product, we had not yet marketed the product, and we've not yet sold the product," which, of course, if it hasn't been made or marketed, of course, they haven't been selling it. Upon telling U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents that they work in the legal cannabis industry, but not directly selling or distributing the plant in any way, they were allegedly detained and interrogated. During routine questioning, one of the three men mentioned their design would eventually be used in the Canadian cannabis industry, and they were immediately taken to the secondary inspection facility for further scrutiny. This is according to a story from Star Metro Vancouver. The article again points out that even though the three men aren't directly involved in cannabis sales, they were labeled as drug traffickers. After the interrogation concluded, the three men were allegedly issued lifetime bans that forbid them from entering the U.S. ever again, according again to the story. It's going to cause problems. Obviously, legalization in Canada, federal prohibition in the United States. Hopefully, this is not where things settle. Hopefully, there's a review of this process. Again, this is an alleged reported story. This is the word of these guys who told this story to this news agency. Whether or not it happened remains to be seen. We'll see if it continues to happen, because obviously it'll make the news some more if it happens again. And a lot of cannabis professionals from Canada are going to come down here to try to learn things, try to make deals with companies that are in this country. There's a lot of reasons for cannabis professionals in both countries to interact with each other. And if that means there's going to be problems crossing the border, well, that's going to be problems that are solved at some point, hopefully soon. But as always, this is the beginning stages of these things, and there's going to be problems, especially when it comes to government. Government is expert in creating problems. Hence, marijuana prohibition to start with was a government-created problem. This next story is from DetroitNews.com. It's a story about the medical marijuana program in Michigan. Autism and 10 other medical issues now qualify patients for medical marijuana in Michigan. Autism is one of 11 new medical issues. State Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs Director Shelley Edgerton approved for inclusion on the list of debilitating medical conditions that can qualify someone for a medical marijuana license. The additions were based in part on, quote, changes in the state law to include marijuana-infused products and the advancement of marijuana research, and upon the recommendation of panel members. Edgerton said that in a statement. The full list of 11 conditions includes arthritis, autism, chronic pain, colitis, IBD, obsessive-compulsive disorder, Parkinson's disease, rheumatoid arthritis, spinal cord injury, Tourette syndrome, and ulcerative colitis. Some conditions were not added to the list. They were declined to be added to the list. Those include anxiety, asthma, brain injury, depression, diabetes, gastric ulcer, non-severe and non-chronic pain, organ transplant, panic attack, schizophrenia, and social anxiety disorder. Those lists, they really show that, it's hit and miss. When you're allowing politicians and lawmakers and bureaucrats to decide these things, to decide what kind of qualifying conditions qualify you for medical marijuana, you're not going to get much rhyme or reason to, as far as why these things are on the list, why these things are not on the list. It's up to the bureaucrats who, in many cases, know absolutely nothing about cannabis. I assume that that a lot of that is going on here. Some states, like Maine now and Oklahoma, so far in Oklahoma, have no qualifying conditions for cannabis, which is the way it should be. I mean, either we trust doctors or we don't. We trust doctors with our lives, our health, emergency situations, but we can't trust them to decide, well, this person can get this for, chronic pain, but not for depression and not for anxiety, but they can't get it for irritable bowel disease. It seems like doctors should be making that decision. I don't know. As I've said many times before, who am I? I'm just a little medical host or a little video show host guy. What do I know about all this? Well, I've been studying this issue for almost a decade, but whatever. Bureaucrats will decide that, this goes on the list, this doesn't. These people are criminals, these people aren't criminals. Both sides, both columns are taken from are sick people, but only these special sick people are allowed to use cannabis even though they're not infringing on the rights of anyone else. Ridiculous way to run things, but that's the way it goes. Again, government. They've decided that, well, this is it. As I've said many times before, we're going to get legalization. We're going to get an end to prohibition, but it's going to be mediocre, restrictive, highly regulated legalization. They're all going to say, oh, that's great. We're going to settle for it because it's better than prohibition. In the end, that's it could be better, but as good as it's going to get. So last story is from MassLive.com. Opponents of marijuana ban called potheads and booed at West Springfield Council. West Springfield's town council said earlier last week that they're not down basically for recreational sales. Yes, it is legal, but is not wanted by the residents of West Springfield. District 5 Councilor Daniel M. O'Brien said, "The main thing I hear in this town is this town does not want it now, and I have to represent this town, so that's why I'm overturning this veto." That was according to District 1 Councilor Michael S. Edger. Most of the audience of the town hall applauded the council, who then voted, graphics snafu, there we go. The applauded the council then voted 8-1 to override Mayor Will Reachlet's veto in a special meeting that means a ban on the sales of recreational marijuana will be imposed. A few people walked out of the meeting in protest over not being allowed to speak during the session and were booed and called Pothead. We'll show you that video here in a second. Now, West Springfield in 2016 voted down marijuana legalization by a vote of 50% to 47%, which apparently gives these people some sense of superiority. I don't know, that they won 50 to 47%, and they're so high and mighty now that people who are not infringing on the rights of anyone else still can't buy this thing in their town, that people are allowed to buy legally in the state, but not in their town, even though having a dispensary or a retail shop in their town in no way infringes on their rights of anyone in that town, but it's their town, and they don't like this stuff in their town, and get out of our town. See how these morons act. Check out this video. It's from the council meeting I just referenced, and from the story that I just referenced, and you can see it. All the stories I talk about, as always, are linked in the description of this video. But here's one went down at the council meeting, at least part of it. This video from Mass Live.
Did people get a say? Do we get to talk? Nothing? No, we don't get to talk. Yes. I didn't email in. I'm sorry I didn't email in. I came here to give you my vote.
Basically, you see people coming up saying, we support recreational sales in this town. We didn't get a chance to speak, and watch the reaction that they get from the, I'm assuming, a very tolerant and open-minded residents who somehow won on this issue. They kept a viable business out of their town. They reduced the amount of jobs available in their town, and economic activity and tax revenue. So they're the real winners here. And see how they act. This is how the winners act.
Whoa. Take a walk.
Take a walk, you potheads. We won 50-47. Less jobs in our town. Less tax revenue. Less economic activity. Ha ha ha. Get out of here.
Order, please.
You pothead.
No.
Councilor Eager.
Yes.
Councilor Kelly.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you get the vote. So funny. So hilarious. These backwards hillbillies in this Massachusetts town who think they've won something by keeping a viable business out of their town. A viable business that is not infringing on their rights. But they are the true winners. When other towns around them are getting the tax revenue and the jobs and the economic activity, well, we know these people in West Springfield are the real winners. Good for you guys. You guys are really on the ball. If you go through West Springfield, Massachusetts, beware. It's a town full of morons. And then they like to go to city council meetings. And if that's too harsh, well, I don't care. You're a moron if you think that's too harsh. I don't care what you think. I don't worry about the opinions of morons. That's why I'll never go to West Springfield, Massachusetts. Because it's a town full of idiots. Yes, that's right. If you're from West Springfield, Massachusetts, you're likely an idiot. You don't like that? Too bad. Ha 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 ha. Take a walk. See how dumb that sounds? Yeah, you're getting it. Cannabis news. Thanks, everybody. This is another issue, another episode, whatever you want to call it, in the books for July 16th, 2018. Thank you to Natureside, nature-side.com. Go check out their organic, all-natural pesticides. Keep spreading the word, liking, sharing, commenting on all the videos. Check us out on marijuanatimes.org and click that video tab. Thanks, everybody, for checking out the show, and we'll see you next time on Cannabis News.